I was a decrepit 20-year-old and I'm a strong 52-year-old postmenopausal woman that could probably run circles around most of the people that we know. I don't fight disease. I find why your body isn't healing and help you support your body to heal. The first rule that I teach is to first shift the gear into neutral. There's 2 blockades to it not working. How do we apply the same science to every single person?
As a chef of 20 plus years, I've always been about taste. But it was becoming a father that made me really start to think about function, because I want my kids to thrive and I want to be around long enough to witness it. And it was when my daughter became ill, my wife and I, we struggled to get the right nutrients into her. It was a true wake-up call. That experience is why Pluck was created. So Pluck is a superfood seasoning made with 100% grass-fed beef organ meats blended with organic spices and herbs. The beautiful thing is it doesn't taste like organ meats. It just tastes like the seasoning you're already using, but better. Because when you add it, you're adding these bioavailable nutrients that your body can actually use. If you can salt it, you can pluck it. Learn more at eatpluck.com and save 15% off your first order using code EA15. So many people are eating better, taking supplements, doing the protocols, and still wondering why they don't feel better. Well, today I'm joined by Kelly Kennedy, known as the Lymph Queen, the Fascia Fairy. And she helps people understand what may be blocking the body from healing, from lymph and fascia to scars, oxygen, water, and the nervous system. I wanted to go right into, the people that are doing everything right? Because everyone thinks they are. But what are we missing?
James, your podcast and our work is so connected because it is about that primal instinct and the connection to the fact that, yes, we are very physical beings and we have a primal instinct that's kept us safe, that's helped us get to the point where we live in houses and we don't have to go fight the saber-toothed tiger, that we have wonderful, Pluck seasoning so we don't have to eat organ meat. We're smart enough to figure that out, thank goodness. Thank you for making that, because I don't like organ meat, but I love Pluck. The human part of us, the physical part of us, keeps us in safety mode. But what I'm here to say is that most people are in fight, flight, freeze mode, functionally working through life, but they're not actually in rest, heal. And so when the body is not wrangling its mammal, is what I call it, when it doesn't calm the nervous system down, when it doesn't say, hey, you're not in fight, flight, it's okay that you have a cashew in front of you and it used to cause histamine reactions and you've now changed your microbiome, you've changed so you don't expect the same reaction, that's actually your spirit trusting your body, trusting that your spirit can heal. Because what I know to be true from studying science and my life's work of 25 years is that the thing inside of us is the only thing that heals. We are smart enough, we've evolved to this point where we can use modern technology to incite the ancient wisdom that we know from our ancestors of what actually keeps us well and healthy, which is sunshine, which is those foundational principles that you and I both teach, that it's not about adding things, it's actually about getting back to being the divine being, having a physical experience and being conscious of that fact and trusting the thing in us that grew us when we were in our mom's uteruses. The moms trusted that innate wisdom, that intelligence, that force of nature that grew us in the abdomen, right, and the uteruses. It comes out, and then everybody goes, oh my gosh, how do we take care of it? We must have to inject it. We must have to do things to it. And as you saw in your own family story, it wasn't about adding all the man-made processed stuff. It was getting back to nature. It was getting back to what God gave us that is deficient in modern lifestyle, that actually is what is the underlying root cause of dis-ease, I'm here to say, is modern lifestyle.
100%. Very on board with that. And I'm also constantly trying to navigate how to support others and getting on board with that. And it seems to me like there is a huge disconnect, and it almost seems like it's been socialized out of us to even look at our bodies as divine, to even look at ourselves as forms of energy. We're both of age where we can look back and remember, there was a time where if you talked anything like energy work or anything like that, people were like, woo woo, you're crazy, right? Only now are we seeing people go oh yeah, maybe there is more than what I see before me. But how do we support this mindset change Or really, in a sense, it's a reclaiming of an ancestral mindset because our ancestors were open to this spiritual, unknown, unseen energy.
For me, it's the only question that's important, right? It's like how and why are we here, and how do we get the best out of this experience while we're here?
Yes.
How do we live the highest quality of life completely connected to what this is really about, which is that we're divinely connected. For me, it's two things. You have the intellect, you have the education, and that's why you and I have podcasts and I have membership forums and I make social media content and I'm constantly pouring in to educate, to reframe. And then the second is experience. You and I are of an age, and perhaps your audience is too. Do you remember the movie The Matrix?
Yes.
One of my favorites. Morpheus was giving Neo the choice of the red pill versus the blue pill and said, this is going to change your mind, your frame of mind. This is going to give you a different perspective on all of life. And you have a choice right now which perspective you want. But once you pick the red pill, you can't go back to the blue pill. And he intellectually explained it. And then what happened when Neo drank or ate the red pill is he what? At first regretted it, right? He woke up, he looked at all the people looking at batteries and was like, can I go back to the blue pill a little bit, like the one guy did in the movie? And I think that's a great metaphor. I've always thought it's why I saw it in the movie theater 26 times, because it's a great metaphor for life of what's really going on is that we live in our own matrix and that we do create our own reality. And we do that through trusting the divine nature of the fabric of life, of the life force within us that's connected to every single thing else that there is. When you first discover that, you go, oh my gosh, I can control my mind. I'm not my mind because I can watch my mind and I can change my mind and I can say, don't think that thought anymore. So I'm not the mind. I'm not the body. If my arms get cut off, God forbid today, am I less of a Kelly Kennedy? No. So I'm not the mind, I'm not the body, so what am I? Well, we know that when a person passes, that the physical body weighs about 2.5 grams less than it did when it was breathing. So what is that? I don't know. That's that unknown. That's that thing that animates this physical body that you and I can both, know lots of things that have happened in the world where people go, oh, that's a horrible situation. They're in the hospital and they're brain dead. Right? We've all heard about situations like that. People are brain dead. Have you ever heard anybody say their heart dead? No. Because once your heart dead, once you stop breathing, you're just dead. So the breath of life that's in us is the thing that animates us. It's the non-physical part of us. And where the rubber meets the road, where we become physical is at the fascia level. Listen, folks, I'm a deep scientist that did not think she was ever going to study God and energy and non-physical stuff. I was growing in hillbilly upstate New York, and my father had cancer. He had cancer 7 times. He had Hodgkin's disease. I didn't want to get cancer. I was like, I'll go to Cornell University. I'll go pre-med. I'll figure out how to become a doctor so I don't get cancer. I figured if you become a doctor, you figure out how to not get cancer. That was my belief system as a young, naive, hillbilly raised person. As I studied at Cornell, as I got educated through that, but bigger than my intellect was my experience. I almost died in a car accident my second year at Cornell. I was scalped in the car accident. I lost 2 inches in height and I lacerated my spleen. And 9 months later, my 55-year-old father died after having 2 strokes after many complications of chemo and radiation. And I picked my head up in the 90s and said, I don't think they've got medicine figured out because I'm a 20-year-old rower that was in a car accident that was told to manage her pain for the rest of her life. And one day she'd have to have surgery to have those rods put down my back. And my 55-year-old father had had cancer 7 freaking times, blood clots in the lungs, all sorts of other illnesses, and was dead. And all they could tell us was cut it out, medicate it, radiate it, right, James? It's not about the food he was eating, God forbid. Yes, it was. By the way, yes, it was. And at that time, I had forced myself to be a vegetarian because I didn't like the burned red meat that I was given my whole life. And so I was nutritionally deficient, as we both know, because I wasn't eating any dense animal protein. And I had fractures in my back. And 3 years into that journey, I ended up in Pennsylvania in the 90s at an acupuncturist office working with a guy that did energy to release emotional stuff from the body. I was willing to try anything. It was for another reason. Then I figured out he handles pain. Then I'm there dealing with pain. And on my third visit, I came back and said, where did my pain go? Because I had a spontaneous healing. What I know now is called a spontaneous healing. I lived in pain for 3 years. I lived on Vicodin and Flexerol for 3 years. And then I met this guy. I saw him 2 times to do an energetic release technique on me. And 2 things in my life started to happen. I started to make money finally in this sales company I was loving, but couldn't make any sales. But more importantly, I was pain-free, and I didn't understand why. I started to wean off all the pharmaceutical drugs. I continued to see him as a practitioner for 3 months. We cleaned up my allergies, my asthma, my acne. And then the ongoing joke, James, is I married him because I have so much emotional stuff, and we did emotional release technique. There was no way I was getting out. I needed him for a whole lifetime to handle that crap. And we've now run a clinical practice for 20 years. And through my own experience, my intellect had to say, well, then how did that work? How do we do that? And I've studied science for the last 20 years, looking at German medicine, looking at the nuance, the subtle energy body, the thing that caused the body to heal. Because what happened was I went back to his office on my third visit and I go, how'd you do that? How'd you make that happen? And he goes, energy. Now, his name is Ian, spelled I-A-N, but pronounced I-O-N. And I-O-N means energy. So I thought he was being sarcastic because I was raised an Irish Catholic girl and thought he was being funny. And at the time in the 90s, when I was paying him $90 for 15 minutes and was a broke college student, didn't think he was very funny because I just want to know the answer. I was like, can you just tell me why? Like, okay, great, it's energy. Fine. Okay, fine. But you did it. That's what I thought he was saying. I did it. I go, but how do I make sure the pain doesn't come back? And here's his answer. Ready? Oh, that's easy. Just be. I was like, what's going on? So I've recognized now, I mean, this man has he's one of the best readers I've ever met. He studied martial arts. He has 5 black belts. He became a ranger medic. He worked with an acupuncturist, married one for many years. So he understood the energy of the body, how you could take somebody down with it and how you could heal with it. Both things were true. And so I didn't just study with him, but I studied with this German group that we found as I started working with him, because I was like, if I had a spontaneous healing, how do we apply the same science to every single person? Because if you can do it, then everybody can do it. I mean, I was raised Catholic, and I think you were too, weren't you?
No, my
Yeah.
mother was Jewish. My dad was
Oh, Jewish.
Episcopalian. What's interesting, though, is that in many ways, what you experienced is what Mary Baker Eddy did with Christian Science.
I mean, the thing is what I was going to say is when I grew up, the one thing that impressed me the most was these priests that would always come from Africa for some reason, and they would lay hands on people. And some people would fall down to the ground, and then they would have a healing. And I always wondered why my dad never fell down. We always went, and I never understood why didn't he fall down. And what I understand through my work now, it's all about receiving. He wasn't able to receive that amount of love. And I've lived in pain. I broke my back. I broken my arm. I broke my leg. I broken my wrist. I broken my elbow. I'm good at breaking bones because I like to do stupid human tricks. That said, when the body heals, right, it does it naturally. It's not like the cast is healing me. It's the innate intelligence that heals my bone. It's not surgeries, as they told me I'd need all these surgeries. I'd gained 1.5 inches back of the 2 inches I've lost. I was a decrepit 20-year-old, and I'm a strong 52-year-old postmenopausal woman that could probably run circles around most of the people that we know, because I receive that amount of love. And as much pain as I've been in, healing is receiving love in the body that you actually create and you connect to from nature around you, from the food and the plants and the air and the water that's pure, that God gave us to heal. And I don't care what religion you're here from, that we're all divine beings having a physical experience connected to one living force of energy.
Similar to a comedian who talks about how they have to have tragedy to be funny, do you have to have pain and suffering to find healing?
It's a great question. So in The Matrix, he had to go through the portal. His eyes had to be open. He had to face his truth. We are light and we are dark. We are both. And I do feel, think, and know that while we don't have to go through pain, I think that's what Buddha was saying, is that suffering is a choice. Our perspective is our ability to choose, our conscious mind. Bad things can happen. We can trust in our hearts that it was meant for our highest good. When I broke my elbow a couple of years ago on black ice, I literally laid on the ground. I was like, really, Kat, this is what you want me to do? You want me to heal my broken out? I mean, I know I broke it. I know I dislocated my shoulder the second it happened. And I laid on the ground and was like, all right, I have to apply what I do every day. They told me I needed surgery. The only way I was going to get full range of motion back, it would never heal without surgery. I was too old, postmenopausal, all the things. Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, that's just not true. It's not how the body heals. And it's about getting the body by opening up the blockades to healing, which are dentist stuff and scars that block the body to heal. But the default system, the primal system, is healing. The ancestral system is to heal. And when we were living off the land and we had lots of sunshine, I can tell you then if they drew blood, people don't have low vitamin D. They have low vitamin D because we live in houses and there's things eating our vitamin D. And the oxygen, like people don't breathe oxygen, they don't lift heavy things awkwardly and weird. They go into gyms and work on the same motion over and over again, which is repetitive motion, which is blocking, shutting down the nervous system from healing. So there's so much that I've learned in my 20 years of clinical practice and 30 years of studying this, is that when you apply a certain formula, which I figured out is energy, fascia, lymph, oxygen, water, which we'll go through a little bit, the energy in the body is all that heals. There's two blockades to it not working. It's turning on our ability to heal. I don't fight disease. I find why your body isn't healing and help you support your body to heal and encourage you to care for your body, much like you've learned to care for your teeth, much like you've learned to care for your nutrition, to care for your lymph and your fascia, because it is the majority of your actual terrain, of your tissue. And it's also the part of us that connects to the non-physical part of us. That's 90% of the communication happening in the body is non-physical. And it's about aligning to that allows us to heal. And so I consider myself a facilitator of healing. It's why I focus on the lymphatics. As I studied the science, I went, it's all about the lymphatics. We'll go through what lymph is a little bit. It's all about the covering around the lymph, the fascia that holds the structure together, that gives us our actual shape. And then the skin lays over it. But if we're not in safety mode, if we're not in, I'm a calm, safe mammal, like those of you that have dogs that lay on the ground with their bellies open and exposed, that's like walking around with your heart exposed, right? When animals walk on all fours, they're protecting their heart. When they walk as bipeds, their heart is open and exposed. And where the body holds stress is the jaw and the hips, which makes us unique bipeds in walking forward in our lives. But we chew a lot and swallow a lot and bite our tongues a lot. And we don't feel safe in our pelvic region, and we sit a lot and we create more stress there. I mean, there's so much modern lifestyle that creates disease and illness. And by going back to the basics, the foundational steps, as you know, you're actually able to heal better. And then when your body's in healing mode, you can receive better nutrition. You can receive better light therapy. You can receive better oxygen because your body's in that. I can receive that.
I have a gift for you. It's called the Freedom Meats Guide, and it's all about reclaiming your health, eating the most nutrient-dense traditional foods, bone broth, organ meats, raw milk, and more. See, these are the foods that built strong and resilient people for generations, and this guide will help bring them back into your life. Whether you're just starting out or you're deep into ancestral lifestyle, this is the roadmap, and all 24 pages of it are available for download for free via the link in the description. Look, start feeding your body what it really needs. You deserve it. So a lot of people talk about parasympathetic mode, and as you mentioned, you want to be in a calm state. There's descriptors of what it means to be in safe mode. How does someone actually get into safe mode? Like, what are the practical tips that will support someone in feeling safer in their body?
It's a great question. So wrangling the mammal. Let's do a little bit together. A lot of people practice breath work. What does the word work mean to you, James?
Oh yeah. I mean, it feels like, it's a lift. It's a weight to a degree. Like, I have to work. I have to climb up the mountain. You know what I mean? That it's not easy.
It's effort, right? It's
Yeah, effort. That's a perfect word.
When your children were born,
That was work.
well, yeah, for sure. But when they came out, did anybody sit there and go, okay, what you're going to do now is you're going to breathe in through your nose and breathe in through your mouth, and you can exhale out either one? Did anybody instruct the baby how to do that? Or did the baby just instantly know how to go from breathing plasmatic water inside the uterus to coming through a portal and all of a sudden breathing air? Whoa, what a transition that is. The baby knew how to do it, didn't it? Innate wisdom. What I'm going to ask everyone listening to do, and you, unless you're driving, please don't do this if you're driving, but pause, listen to this later. I'm going to ask us to go through a breath practice instead of breath work, to practice the art of breathing, to witness the fact that you are a divine being that has breath in it. As we mentioned earlier, breath is the only thing that's keeping us animated and alive. And we can monitor that through heart rate variability, through understanding sympathetic, parasympathetic deeply. I feel like I'm an expert in that. That said, it's about the experience. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is, if you have a back on your chair, lift your back off the chair a little bit, really hold yourself up, put your feet flat on the ground, put your palms face up and on your thighs. Just notice your breath, notice your posture, relax your shoulders, maybe roll your shoulders a couple times. And as you start to maybe close your eyes, just witness the breath that goes in through your nose. You don't have to do a thing for it. It happens automatically. It's right there, everything you need. And start to follow your own pace. Watch the breath go in through your nose, filling up the lungs and the ribs and the chest. And then at some point, you're going to watch the body exhale. Just witness it. You don't have to do anything to it. Just witness it. Witness that breath filling up the lungs, the chest, the abdomen, the shoulders, the neck. Witness it exhaling. And witness maybe your mind going all over the place, and tell your little mammal that's running all over the place to sit and be still and pay attention to your breath, because that's all you've asked it to do. That's your mind, is your wild mammal that needs to be a bit trained. And that is what's keeping you in sympathetic overload. That's what's keeping you in fight flight. Oh my gosh, did I do the dishes? Oh my gosh, I have that phone call to make. Oh, I didn't call my in-laws today. Oh, I need to mow the lawn. Whatever that little thing is in your brain, you gotta calm it down first. Because as I teach people to pump their lymph, what I see is this, and what I saw for years was, okay, I'm pumping my lymph fast and furiously, first of all. Secondly, there's no feeling of the body. So I'm here to ask people to touch your bodies. And I don't mean in a sexual way. I just mean in a way that you're actually engaging with your own body. And just like you learn to brush your teeth, you're going to learn to pump your lymph. But the first rule that I teach in pumping your lymph is to first shift the gear into neutral. And we do that by witnessing the breath. Just take another moment, feeling your feet flat on the ground, feeling your spine straight, witnessing your breath filling up the body. Find where that transition is, where it then exhales. And I encourage you to sigh out a little, make a little sound on the exhale. And let's do 2 more together. Witness the inhale. Witness the exhale. If you have any action, it's on the exhale. The inhale is passive. Transition to the exhale. Then we get active and we So that's the experience. Because some people are doing ketamine IVs to try to feel relaxed. And it's literally right there at the tip of your nose. You just have to calm your own brain down to do it.
Well, that is the truth, right? Is everyone is being trained to go outwards for the answer instead of inward. It is a contradiction to this modern life. It's 100%.
And it's not that I don't love modern conveniences. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to the Omega Institute for an event. I'm so excited to go see Eileen McCusick do her tuning fork, bio-tuning fork, and being part. But I love Omega Institute, but they want you to stay in a tent or a cabin. God bless their souls. I am sorry. I want to stay at a luxury hotel down the street. I want to eat some meat that night because I'm going to be working my brain all day, which means I'm going to be using protein and I need to replenish protein. I appreciate that they are a vegetarian experience. I have learned enough in my life to know that when I work my brain, I need meat. I need animal protein. I'm what I call a flexitarian. Yeah, 80% of the time I eat home, I eat good, I eat organic, it's all high quality protein, blah, 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 no seed oils, blah, blah, blah. Yet sometimes I'm out. Like last night, we went to this comedy show near our house, about an hour and a half, and we found this cool 14th century castle. I have a 13-year-old son. You don't think that's where we chose to have dinner? Was it organic food? No. But I took my little quantum card and I structured the water and we prayed over the food. And therefore, it will make that higher structure. I received it better than if I walk in going, oh, this is going to suck and this food is going to be horrible and they're going to use seed oils. That's going to affect me because the energy, the emotion behind it is more impactful than the physicality.
You said 13-year-old son?
Yeah.
So how does your 13-year-old react to this kind of work?
100% resistance. Mom's woo-woo. Mom's so weird. You know, just the other day, we got in a tiff, or not a tiff, but a thing about deodorant that I've given him to use and the hairspray that the hairstylist sold him when I wasn't there. And I was just like, listen, buddy, it's got like forever chemicals in it. You don't want that. Or not. The toothpaste. I also know from his teachers and from his friends' parents that he's the one that asked the questions. Well, is it organic? Is that tap water? I don't eat that. But he also is a 13-year-old boy that goes, Mom, why do I have, I mean, he cracks me up, James. He comes home the other day, he goes, Mom, why can't I just get some goldfish? Why do I have to have the cheesy rabbits and what he calls the monkey balls, which are those granola things that have the chocolate chips in them?
The space ball things. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He's like, why can't I just have regular Oreos? Why do they have to be this other thing? And it's like, well, because we know better. And I know that that's hard for somebody of that age. But isn't that our goal as parents, is to be the best guide for them, to show them how to find their own truth? And for me, he gets choice. I've also watched him eat like a couple organic fast food places that we have around here, and he stopped eating them because he gets a stomachache and diarrhea after he eats them. So experience teaches.
And contrast, right? So he has the contrast from those types of foods to compare and to know what it feels to not be on them, which is really key, right? Where does the energy work have limitations? Because in a sense, we're talking about the power of energy. And I know that there's been studies done where monks have prayed over toxic water, and then it was, that couldn't form crystals. And then once they prayed, it could actually form crystals. So that there is power and energy, but we're also saying, yeah, but don't eat these things because we know better and let's stay away from these things. But because on a certain level, it's like, well, if energy works, then eat them, but then be in an energetic calm in a space that you could right the ship. It's almost like we're saying, but there are limitations, or that you still don't want to drown yourself in toxic water because the energy eventually you'll eventually feel so toxic that you can't even right side your energy? Or where is the balance, or how do we look at this?
We could spend an hour just on that question, James. It's a phenomenal question. So we all live in a fishbowl, right? But our fishbowl is very dirty water because of the Industrial Revolution, the Wi-Fi, all the exposure we have. So that when we support and depend upon energy, we're receiving all the information from a toxic world. If we change our environment to be a less toxic world, we can depend upon that energy for us to heal, because we're not going to use forever chemicals in our food, because we know that's against nature and we would never do such a thing. So we would never have an option. Bad for me is processed white sugar. It's not high fructose corn syrup. That's a hill I'll die on. Okay, there's a difference between I'll give myself a little poison and I'm never touching that. Everything seeps into the environment, right? Like you can't separate anything. You can't escape frequency. Frequency is everywhere. But if we can change our own home environment and have more space, which we get through working lymphatics, through opening the fascia, we literally create more space between the cells. 2/3 of our body is water. And coincidentally, we have 3 times more lymph than we do blood. About 2/3 of the body is lymph fluid, and it's the phase of water that's inside of our body. And just like you were talking about with Emoto science, that's Masaru Emoto, the Japanese guy with the water crystals. I've worked with his partner of 17 years, Rasmus, for 7, 8 years now, in using a technology that is evidence that all the healing comes from the heart. Every single person's frequency of the heart is played to water. Every single person makes beautiful, coherent, beautiful water crystals. The mind is the limitation. So that's where the limitation is. Ignorance is bliss. If you watch The Matrix, the guy that went back and said, Morpheus was, or one of the agents was like, what can you give out? I just want to go back and eat a steak and pretend that I'm just eating the steak and enjoy the steak for the sake of the steak. That's what he wanted, was ignorance, because the opening of the veil was horrible, because then you recognize that you're responsible and allowed some of that programming to go in, and it doesn't support you anymore. And if I still stayed the vegetarian that I was at 18 because I didn't like meat, I know I wouldn't be as healthy today. But I had, a couple people that introduced me to different ways to cook meat. Salmon that was fresh off the boat in Alaska that melted in my mouth. And I was like, whoa, I've never tasted anything like that. And I kept myself open for change and not stayed stuck. And stuck in a mindset is one of the biggest blockades to healing, because I talk about the physical blockade, scars and dental. The non-physical blockade is the emotional belief system. I can't heal. Oh, I'm a product of my genetics. Oh, I can't do that. I'm not strong enough. I'm a girl. I'm over 50. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever the story is just that. It's the story you're playing out. And the biggest limitation we have is our mind. Where we're unlimited is our heart. And when we get those to be in proper balance, then you're in regeneration and healing all the time. And it's evidenced in your heart rate variability and all that subtle energy body testing. The best way to structure your water, you can buy expensive pieces of equipment, but essentially, do you talk? Can you change your mind and hold your water up to your heart? Shift your mind into gratitude? Feel the water and have gratitude for it? Now your water is structured. Because the best vortex you have is your own helical heart. Your vortexing heart is the best science you got. Start bio-loving your bio-water with gratitude and love. That's how you structure your water.
You are your own vortex.
You're your own vortex.
Love it. I usually work out every day. I try to do some kind of movement, whether it's running, heavy lifting, and I normally also walk my daughter to school. So I'm always getting movement in. And I feel mentally stronger when I do. I had 3 days though where I didn't get to go work out. I still did the walk with my daughter, but I didn't get to really work out. And I noticed that I felt this low-grade depression. Everything felt kind of just blah. And I started to tell a story that I wonder if my normal state is blah. Like my normal state is depression. And that the tool I've learned to counteract it is, healthy food, working out, trying to live in a non-toxic environment. I even thought, well, wait a second, that's still creating a story. Like that's still trying to use my mind to label something, when the truth is, it doesn't have to be anything. I could just feel better when I work out. And maybe when I'm feeling that kind of low-grade depression, that maybe it's a sign to focus on the breath, or focus on a tree, or focus on something that's present opposed to in my head.
When you're running up the steps, because I know you do a lot of steps, right? And when you run up steps, let me ask you a question. Are you conscious about your breath in your body? And are you feeling your feet and your arms and your abdomen and your back, and you're conscious of your body movements? And if you falter from that, wouldn't it be easy to trip and fall and hurt something?
I don't listen to music when I'm working out. Like I don't have headphones in, so I am very present to my body and even to my thoughts, of course. So anytime you're exerting any energy, like you said, you're training your mind as well, because of course it's like, okay, can I lift this, right? And so there's story that comes up. So it's a constant give and take of, using that training of the mind, but also being in the body and like really feeling the life force, right?
As a rower, I would say the same thing. I feel every single pull on that rowing machine, and I'm like, oh, could have done my arms. Like I'm physically watching my body and the breath, and knowing that, that's strengthening me and it's helping me focus. And I'll never get a perfect row. And that's part of what I love about it, because there's always something to work on. Just like a golfer is never going to get a perfect swing. And as soon as you do, the next swing you got, it's the next one. But that's every breath we take. how deeply aware can we be of the fact that we're still breathing, that we woke up? How grateful can we be that we woke up and 180,000 other people did not wake up today and they don't have breath running through their animating their bodies? And that is a gift of presence, of being aware that, oh, I'm walking my daughter to school and I'm holding her hand and I'm so in love with this life and this life that I've chosen that I choose to walk away from my work to walk my daughter to school because it brings me joy. And there's nothing more important than that, because that's the connection. That's the love. That's what I'm here for. And that helps me heal and it helps me receive. And my brain is calm. And then that's often when inspiration occurs. When you don't have all these thoughts that are trapping you, there's space to allow to go in. Well, when you're working out, you're creating space in your body. You're focusing your mind. You're exhaling. You exhale more toxicants out than you poop, pee, or sweat. And you do that through your lymphatics. You're sweating. You're moving your lymphatics. The movement is softening your fascia. When you're sitting for 3 days in a row and you didn't exercise, you didn't pump your lymph. You didn't move the oxygen. You didn't structure the water within. You didn't focus the mind. Your body didn't shift into healing mode. There is a science behind why you feel better. And yes, that creates endorphins. And your body's not stagnant. It doesn't go unhealthy. Therefore, I've arrived. It's a decision we make with every breath we take, every step we take. Am I going towards regeneration or am I going towards degeneration? And you're just so deeply present to your body that when you didn't work out for 3 days, you started to notice, I'm not getting that endorphin hit. And whoa, I got to get back on that train because I want to feel better than this. And you've tuned in to the vessel, to the destiny, to the temple that is our bodies, that divine energy lives in. And if you're working out, you're feeling it. And if you don't, you forget.
Is there another kind of manual lymph node release that you can impart?
Yeah. So I was going to give all your audience the guidebook for free, 5 top tools for lymph. One is how to manually pump your top 10 nodes. It's a sequence you have to learn. Watch it 5, 8 times. There's a video that comes with it with a PDF. There's something I call horse lifts and heart opening about how to rub areas of your body and release tension. There's the EDV mantra to retrain your brain to say that you relax and recognize I am good enough and my life is easy and joyful. These are all just things I've made up over years to create tools to help you wrangle the mammal and to then manually pump and release your lymphatics. Scars is a whole nother subject, but yes, I want to gift that to all of your audience so that they have the tools to know exactly what to do today.
Fantastic. So we're going to put that in the notes. There is a question that I like to ask everyone as our closure. If you could wave a magic wand and bring back one ancestral practice, what would it be and why?
Tune into their breath for 5 minutes a day, every day. You know, Think and Grow Rich. Andrew Carnegie commissioned Napoleon Hill to write that book, Think and Grow Rich. It's one of the first books I ever read about energy. And Andrew Carnegie said that the reason that most people are not successful is because they cannot focus for more than 5 minutes on any one subject. And focusing on your breath practice is what's creating your life and not. And it's humbling, it's healing, it's free, and it's about bio-loving, not biohacking.
Wow. Kelly, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. There's so much more I'm sure we could talk about because I know there's so much more to your expertise that we didn't cover, but I feel like we really gave people a dose of contrast, of just realizing that there is more than what we're doing, what we're eating, what supplements we're taking, what kind of defines like the perfect health, modality is going inward and looking at the breath and being present with the energy that we are coexisting in. Just so grateful to you for bringing that perspective. We're going to put in the show notes the free gift. Where can people go to learn more, to work with you? Where would you like us to send them?
So they can go to my website, thetruewellnesscenter.com. And on Instagram, I am True Wellness Global. And on YouTube, I'm Energy Flow.
And you have a podcast as well.
Yes,
right?
I do. I've taken a little hiatus for about 7 months because I'm recalibrating, but I'm just about to launch about 10 episodes. And James Barry will be on my new version of my podcast as well. It's a very different type of launch, but yes, they can watch my podcast because the thing is, it's like I said, you got to educate your intellect and then you got to physically feel it. So it's going to have two parts to it where you can learn and you can be by doing, but you learn to be by doing things to get you in the be state. Thank you, James, for this. You're amazing. I really love you and love Pluck and love what you've done. And you've really changed the landscape of food and given organ meats an opportunity to be available, which is so key to healing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for reflecting that back to me. Thank you all for joining us. I have to be honest with you, this is the topic that I most get joy from because it's so close to my heart. In my age, I have come to believe very much what Kelly is sharing, which is that energy is the focus. It's where to go. Inward is where to go. And we are divine, all of us. And I truly mean that. Those of you listening, I hope that if you don't see yourself as divine, that this episode maybe made a crack to your shell. You have the ability to heal. The key is, as Kelly so beautifully articulates, we just have to stay curious. We have to be open to all the things that are around us, to all the signs. There's so many. I'm sure both of us could do an entire episode just on signs that we somehow miraculously heard and that then listened to and changed our lives. And it's happening for all of us. So I just wish upon everyone to just be curious, ask the questions, and be open to these signs because they're all around you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining me on Everyday Ancestral. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. You can find the show notes, links, and resources mentioned at eatpluck.com. That's EATPLUCK.com. And hey, if you know someone who'd get something out of this, share it with them too. Stay curious, live well, and keep it ancestral.